we go again. Nigel Farage has some opinions on ADHD.
Often those in most need don't get as much care as they ought to be getting, and there are too many being put on a list, told they're victims, who frankly through ADHD and much else probably ought not to be there.
Hands up who believes that the reason we don't support really disabled children properly is because too many children are being diagnosed with ADHD. Does anyone believe that, or believe that Farage would improve things? This is incredibly Brexit bus of him.
A child with ADHD doesn't have special educational needs.
Just depends. But I've spoken to headmasters who tell me that they've got teenagers being diagnosed with ADHD where frankly they should not be.
I genuinely had no idea there are so many head teachers who are dual qualified head teachers and psychiatrists. That is really incredible. It's interesting that he believes the head teachers and not the doctors, if in fact what he's saying is true, which I doubt.
And it's a bad thing for the kid because they haven't got real problems.
Just the idea that there are all these children being referred for ADHD assessment even when they have no problems at all, according to Farage, is a fantasy. Why would that happen?
And if you tell people at 15 or 16 years old they're victims, they're likely to stay that way.
It doesn't mean being told that you're a victim. In fact, the opposite is true. If you have ADHD and you are not assessed and diagnosed, you will be diagnosed or at least labelled as something. You might be diagnosed with severe depression or anxiety. You might be labelled as lazy, incompetent, incapable, or unwilling to do things when that isn't true. And that might stop you from going to university, from pursuing the career you want, from being able to achieve, so that it impacts your entire life, impacts our public services and our economy. Being diagnosed tells you that actually not only is there a reason that things work this way for you, but there is actually treatment that is effective. It gives you hope. It does not tell you that you are a victim. And if these children and young people access treatment and it works for them, their needs will decrease and the cost of supporting those needs will go down. You have to remember that our system is based on needs and not diagnosis. We provide for the needs that present, not the diagnosis. So if a child has no needs, as he's suggesting, then they won't need any provision, they won't cost any money. Diagnosis doesn't change what their needs are, unless you get diagnosed with something like ADHD, get treatment that works, and then your needs are reduced. That is a benefit to everybody. So this idea that people being diagnosed with ADHD is the reason that we don't support properly disabled people is an utter fantasy. It's another scapegoat in a long line of scapegoats from this man. He's an Olympic level scapegoater. There is zero chance that in a country led by this man, we would see better services for disabled people. It simply would not happen. If this man ends up in charge of any of our public services, we are all in deep trouble.